All right, let's talk about Stranger Things Season 4. I won't go into spoilers until the second half of this video. So the first half, I'm going to talk about things spoiler-free. But, you know, hopefully you've at least watched the other couple of seasons, because I do have to kind of talk about that stuff. But that's why I kind of wanted to come on here today, is that I have finally decided I think Stranger Things is good. I've been kind of all over the place with the series, loved it at the start, but Season 2 really lost me, man. And then Season 3 started to get me back in. And now with Season 4, like the two parts really coming to an end and wrapping it up, they got me. Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. The amount of times I reference that Pacino Godfather 3 thing, I can't help it. It's the perfect saying, and Stranger Things really, really did it for me. I personally think that Season 4 is the strongest the show has been since the first season, where the first season was just this new, fun, interesting thing. Season 4 once again managed to keep me on my toes, show me cool things, but also serve as a love letter to just a bunch of cool shit that a lot of us liked as kids. It once again does the nostalgia play, but a lot of it I thought was pretty meaningful and pretty good. A lot of it comes from, and you've probably heard it, but a lot of it is Nightmare on Elm Street inspired. You know, every season kind of wears a lot of influences on its sleeve, and once I started to click where it's like going for a Nightmare on Elm Street style thing, I was like, oh yes. But aside from that, dude, like it had emotion. Maybe it's because the characters are getting older, and maybe when I saw stupid kids, I just didn't care. But now that they're getting older, everything feels like a little bit higher at stake. Everything feels real, and this show, this season, delivered like multiple real emotional gut punches, like stuff that I just wasn't expecting to feel. And it's in a show that, of course, is kind of messy and too all over the place, and I still feel like they're tiptoeing on the line of having too many characters and not enough time to deal with them. They still managed to really stick a lot of landings and some stuff that I really like to see, and stuff that I'm actually going to remember, and that's a big thing, man. We watch so much stuff now. There's so many shows streaming at all times. I watch things all the time, and then I go, what did I watched that, right? Oh yeah, what happened with that? There's a few things that actually stick with me and I remember. Stuff like Dark, and now stuff like Stranger Things Season 4. There's a couple moments where, woo, I get the willies just thinking about it now. Couple that with it having a pretty incredible villain that, you know, just for safety's sake, I'm not going to go into until the spoiler section, but it went hard on the emotion stuff, and I think it actually worked because I think everybody here is really good, from whether they're just an incredible actor selling the emotions to just being an entertaining presence on screen. I thought everybody was really awesome. I will say Finn Wolfhard, or really Mike's character and what they did with him, didn't really do it for me. It seems like they ran out of things for him to do, or where that character would go, other than just like, you know, being Eleven's boyfriend. But besides that, if you ask me, not a lot of weak links in the show. There were parts, especially with some characters being spun off, like with whatever Hopper is doing, that at first I was like, where are we going with this? This is so weird. But by the end, I was so happy that that was a part of the show, and I thought it was just another cool, weird, wacky angle. But in terms of it just being a big budget, crazy action adventure with some gross horror, scary elements, some town mystery stuff, and a really, really memorable villain, and even a new character introduced, Eddie Munson, who I thought was just gonna feel like they just added another character to make up for the fact that they killed What's-Her-Face's brother in the last season. No, he's awesome. So like all of it, I thought was really great. And the biggest thing I was happy about was that I said this in another video leading up to this, it felt like, you know, Season 4 was really building to the end, right? Where I'm like, I can't believe they got another season after this. Where are they going to go? This feels like the pinnacle. They at least did a really good job of setting me up for wanting a little more and looking forward to another season. And I didn't think they would get me with that. So like really between that and me loving this season, and just overall, it did a really good job of like actually finally making me like, I'll say like I'm a Stranger Things fan, where I was always like, yeah, Stranger Things is cool. I like it. It's fun. Now I'm like in, dude. Season 4 is incredibly long. I'd say almost obnoxiously long, but it doesn't feel like any time is wasted. It doesn't feel like it's like padded out or anything like that. And I was very impressed by that, because when I saw the runtime of some of these episodes going into this, I was like, what are these duffer dudes doing? But thankfully, it didn't outstay its welcome for me. It left me wanting more, and I highly recommend it. That's all I can really say without going into spoilers. So I guess now, spoiler alert, spoiler warning, here we go. You have been warned, spoilers. Hope you watch the show. So I think the first thing I do want to start with is one thing on a negative side that I wish was pursued more was the town plot. The whole plot of the town like being crazy and thinking that it's a demonic cult, and the high school jock guy rallying everyone together. It felt super relevant. It felt very, very now. I'm also extremely cynical about the world times right now. So it hit right with me and like what's going on. And then it kind of just wrapped up and seemingly was forgotten, at least somewhat, with the high school jock being killed. They just instantly killed him almost off screen, which felt like just a quick way to wrap that up. But at the end of the show, in the last episode, they did acknowledge on the news that people still thought it was started by a cult. So there is that still hopefully going. I hope that goes further, because if they drop that short, I will be kind of bummed, because I thought that was like the first time the show really had something. Not like it has to have something relevant, but it just was like a little more to chew on, where I was like, ooh. And for me, as much as I'm a positive person, I can also be deeply cynical, and seeing that stuff made me like smugly be like, yeah. The one thing, man, I gotta say, I think this was definitely Max's season. Everyone had a moment to shine, but for me, it was Max. You know, obviously the Kate Bush song, that whole thing. But really, the emotion stuff that I talked about earlier, man, dude, Max's scene where she survives, but she's messed up and blind. The way that was portrayed, the way that felt, chills me. It's been a long time since I've seen a character suffering on screen, or possibly almost dead on screen, and I really felt something. And for Stranger Things, of all things, to really punch me in the gut like that, I was blown away. It just had like a really, really good sense of dread to it that just worked. And the whole season really did, because of what Vecna did and how horrific those killings could really be. It was really in line with like the spooky horror elements of Stranger Things, but it pushed it up a little bit. It was a little more fucked up. And I like to see that. But I love Vecna. I love how his origin as one, and how that all, like how he ties in with everything, with the gate, with Eleven's origins, with the Upside Down. Like, it all makes so much sense to kind of gather around him. I was so happy to really finally see this story really come together in something that I thought was interesting. Not to mention the fact that like Vecna is a somewhat practical suit. A lot of that is a real guy in an expensive makeup and custom suit. They obviously enhance it with CGI, but to have a real practical thing on screen, a practical presence, I love that stuff. And I thought every time he was on screen, I would like pause it and be like, he looks incredible. I would shout to my dog or my wife or somebody, like, he really is something. There's a good presence there. His voice, I wish they made his voice a little bit cooler, but just the whole thing, the way he killed, why he killed, his entire origin, his gooey look, I love it. And I mean, think about it. We've watched so many things, you know, we watch superhero movies, all kinds of movies. It can be very hard to come up with a villain out of thin air. It can be really hard, it seems, to come up with one that's memorable. And I think they did a pretty good job with Vecna. I'm just curious to see where it's gonna go, how it's gonna go, and really how Eleven's part of the story is really gonna wrap up that whole thing. I also think, I forget the actor's name, Noah something. I really think he's a standout as Will, who is kind of in the same territory as Mike, where I think they're running out of things for them. But on the other hand, he is dealing with some issues and he is struggling, and they at least touched on that. And they showed a good job of him feeling some pain. That scene of him and Mike in the car talking, I don't know if it's Finn Wolfhard's acting or the writing. I was watching it and I'm like, this is not great. But then once Will started to kick it into high gear, I was blown away. And the way he turned around and looked out the window and like silently cried to himself, like, not to like be weird on Maine, but like I've cried like that. I feel like everybody's had a moment like that. And I thought they just sold that really well. Then Lucas with Max, that stuff felt real and emotional. And then freaking Dustin, of all characters, making me tear up when he talked to Eddie Munson's father. Just really, really good shit. Like, very, very happy with how they nailed a lot of this stuff. And then the whole Russian side of things, where I thought it got a little too zany, where it was almost unbelievable. By the end, the way they wrapped it up, it was fun and entertaining. And those two Russian characters I thought were really, really incredible and kind of underused as actors and everything. Like, I want to see more of that It's a part of the show. It's a part of the plot that like maybe it didn't need to be in it. They could have like done it a different way, but like it did actually manage to add some entertainment value for me. And then just little teen stuff. I really like. I really like Steve Harrington as a fellow big hair weirdo, and I'm curious to see where that goes with Nancy. Also, Argyle, the high guy, pizza delivery guy, I absolutely love. That's a character that could have been so annoying or a comic relief that doesn't quite hit, but that actor, I had to look him up, Eduardo Franco, nailed it. I think it was just such a good kind of homage to like Pauly Shore style characters, but also very much its own unique, distinct California thing. I loved it. I couldn't get enough of them. But I just want to end on a cool thing. Eddie Munson, the whole Metallica Master of Puppets thing, really cool. That's something that I thought I could have cringed to, but the way they did it, the way they executed it, the way they showed it was awesome. And it kind of appealed to the part of Stranger Things that is kind of like young kid or like nostalgia type of thing where it's like, that's just awesome. Like I wasn't even like a metal kid. I was more of like a hip hop skateboard kid. But you know, like many people, I've stumbled into a metal band in high school, so I can appreciate some Metallica, and that's just like a dream, right? Like to do that. And that's how he kind of went down. Like that was his last big moment, and how they talked about heroism and really his character. Really, really good. Considering that character was established and killed in one season, he had a great arc. That's really it, but I am, again, really excited for the final season with Hawkins all fucked up. Hopefully everything just converges there. I really want to see how it goes down and how they wrap stuff up. I really want to see like the whole doctor, like people with superpowers thing, the whole 11 thing, how that really goes down, how they wrap that up, but also who else is going to die? I feel like with the amount of characters they have, like this show has a lot of characters, some people got to get killed off. How are they going to do it? Is it going to be effective? What's going to happen? They got me. Congratulations. I'm hyped. I'm excited to be a Stranger Things fan because I never thought I would really be like a ride or die for this show, but now I'm like really in. So I just wanted to say some quick words on Stranger Things. I know I usually talk about video games, so let me know what you guys are thinking in the comments. If you watch this show, definitely want to hear what your deal is. Of all the characters, there are so many characters. Who is your favorite character this season specifically, and why? Was it a scene? Was it a moment? It's hard because there are so many characters. There are so many great, charming moments. There are moments of heroism for all of them. Let me know what your deal is. Did you enjoy some of the nods to Har? Did you enjoy the Robert Englund cameo? Stuff like that. Let's talk about this stuff. Let's talk about anything Stranger Things 4 down in the comments. If you like hearing me talk about stuff like this, like movies and shows, I do it occasionally on this channel. So if you click the like button and let me know, I'll try and do more. But that's it. Thank you guys for being here, listening to me yap about stuff I love. I'm Jake Baldino. Thanks for being here. Subscribe because video games, pizza's on me.